Hello again, and welcome to the Scary Stories channel. Many more scary stories are coming soon, so be sure to hit the subscribe button below. Tonight's scary story is an old urban legend that takes place in an old Boy Scout camp on the Kansas and Missouri state line. This story is told to every new camper to keep them safe in the darkest hours of night. The story takes place in the old camp. The old camp officially opened in the year of 1935. The camp was way ahead of its time. It was one of the first camps to offer a swimming pool for the visiting scouts. The pool had a state-of-the-art filtration system for its time with huge filter tanks and water pump facility. The creepy towers still remain to this day, although they are overgrown and reclaimed by the forest. The site looks like a page right out of a horror film. Not far from there was the old original dining hall. It was ran by a cook by the name of Horace. He was a great, caring man, but many of the scouts feared and made fun of him. Horace only had one leg, as he had lost the other in an accident when he was a young boy. The children would always make jokes about the wooden peg he wore as a leg. This made Horace an angry person as time went on. He was only trying to help the kids and make sure they had good, nutritious meals. He kept quiet and tried to shrug off the teasing that he endured. One night, Horace was staying late into the night, preparing a special meal for the 4th of July. It was after midnight, and he was still in the dining hall smoking the meat for the next day. About 10 of the boys all came in at once wearing masks. They locked Horace in the back storage room as a prank. They were trying to scare him by saying, "We are going to keep you in here all week." The boys were trashing the kitchen, throwing all the supplies and utensils all over the floor. They were throwing flour into the fans and just trashing the place. Then when the fan turned toward the smoker box, the powder from the flour ignited and caught the kitchen ablaze. The boys all ran to save themselves, but left Horace locked in the closet. The fire destroyed the dining hall. It burnt to the stone foundation. Horace's remains were never found as the fire destroyed everything. Some speculated that he made it out. Some say that he was claimed by the fire. Either way, the next turn in the story remains unsolved. For the next few years, boys would disappear in the middle of the night, never to be seen or heard from again. Some boys say to have heard noises in the night outside of their camps. Sounds as if someone was dragging their foot on the forest ground. In the 1950s, the new camp was built just miles from the old camp. The old camp was abandoned. There were still campers that would hear of the story and hike back to the old camp to see the ruins of the dining hall and see the old pool house. Some that have made the trip at night never returned. The story states that the spirit of Horace roams the woods of the old camp at night looking for curious scouts, just waiting for the right opportunity to seek his revenge. They say you can hear him walking in the woods. They say to never go to the old pool towers, as that is where his spirit calls home. All of the staff tells the story of Horace and warns kids to stay at their campsites at night. They say to never wander off toward old camp for any reason. There are two sides of the story as to whether this story is true history or fabricated to keep the scouts at their camps at night. The other theory is that they call it a story is to cover up the true background of the camp. Nobody would want to send their kids to this place unless they thought it was just, quote, just a story. Which is true, nobody truly knows. Are there such things as spirits that roam during the dark hours? Yet another question to ponder as you are going to sleep tonight. Our second story tonight is about how a road became haunted. Greg and Sally had been trying for years to conceive a child. They were a happy couple, but something was missing from their lives. They were great people. They lived their lives by the Bible and did nothing wrong. This was starting to wear on their marriage, as it seemed if anyone deserved to have a child, it was them. There wasn't a night went by that they didn't pray that somehow their dreams would come true. They went to Sunday service one day, as they always did, and there was a new family there, talking to the pastor in private before the service. The family left before the service even started. After the service, the pastor called on Greg and Sally. "Can you join me in my office for a short while?" They accepted his invitation. He said, "Guys, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but I have an opportunity that I think you would be perfect for. You can always say no, but I know how badly you have been trying to make a family." Their eyes lit up in suspense. "As you probably already noticed, there was a family I was speaking with before my sermon today. They have an 8-year-old child that is facing some challenges, and they can't take care of him anymore. I am not here to pressure you at all, but talk it over and get back with me when you could come to a conclusion." Sally said, "Are you saying that they want us to take in their child?" He replied, "Yes. They have a condition that, well, they won't be with us here on Earth for very much longer. I can't exactly go into details, but I told them if anyone was fit for their child, it would be you." Sally said, "Is this legal? What do we need to know about him?" He said, "Everything will be taken care of. I will see to it." Sally replied, "What is his condition?" He said, "You guys just talk it over tonight so that you are both on the same page. Tomorrow, if you are still interested, I will set up a meeting with all of you to discuss more details. No one is asking for a decision right now. Just ponder it amongst yourselves and get back with me." Sally replied, "Okay." They went home and discussed the shocking news all night. They came to the conclusion that this was their calling. They are needed, and their prayers have been answered, even if it wasn't the way they expected. They called the pastor the next morning and told him that they wanted to learn more and speak with the family. He said that he would set it up and call them back after he got in touch with them. Now they were excited, but the phone didn't ring all day. The anticipation was killing them. 2 days went by and no phone call. Sally finally, on the 3rd day, called the pastor. He said that he was sorry he hadn't been able to get in touch with the family until today. He said the family wants to meet at your house on Friday evening, if that works for both of your schedules. Sally said that nothing was planned and would see them Friday. Sally asked him what time. He said that they could be there around 7. Sally agreed to the time, got off the phone, and let Greg know the good news. Friday came, and it was 7 o'clock. The doorbell wasn't ringing. They waited until 7:45 until they started wondering if anyone would show. Nobody ever did. They went to bed that night with their hearts broken. Did they change their mind? Was this all a big joke? What is going on? That was the questions that ran through their heads. They were awoken by the sound of their doorbell on Saturday morning at 5:30 a.m. They both ran to the door. It was the pastor. He asked if he could come in and talk for a while. They accepted, but asked him, why was he calling on them so early? Was something wrong? The pastor said that he had some bad news about the family as to why they couldn't make it last night. They were walking to your house when a drunk driver in an 18-wheeler swerved off the road and, well, none of them made it. The pastor said if there was anything that he could do to not hesitate to call him. He left, and they both collapsed in sorrow. Why did they keep getting punished? Days went by, then weeks, but the thought that their one chance at a family had now been taken from them. This caused even more issues with their marriage, as Sally became reclusive and didn't come out of her room, let alone the house, for days on end. Greg tried to get her to go to counseling with him, to try to get them back on track. Sally wouldn't go. She stopped talking altogether and stayed in her room by herself. One night, in the middle of the night, Greg was woken on the couch by water drops from the ceiling. He went upstairs only to find Sally in the tub, underwater. The water was still running, but she had drowned herself. Greg called 911, but it was too late. She was gone. Greg was beside himself and decided to find a new town and a new complete start. Not long after Sally's passing, there began to be a lot of strange accidents on the road her and Greg lived on. It seemed like every accident was a fatality. One night, a member of their old church was in an accident on that same road. The pastor came to see him in the hospital. The man's name was Dean. He told the pastor he saw something that night in the middle of the road that scared him half to death, and he wouldn't believe him. The pastor said, "Many people don't believe in the things that I believe, so why do you think I would judge you? What's bothering you?" He asked the preacher if he remembered Sally from the church. He said, "Yes, of course. Why do you ask?" He said, "She is the reason I am here. I saw her in the road last night and swerved to miss her. I don't understand it. I have been having a hard time lately, and my wife and I aren't doing the best. I went out after a fight and had a drink at the bar. I shouldn't have drove, but I was fine. I swear though on my life that Sally was standing in the road last night. Am I crazy?" The pastor told Dean to rest and he would be back to check on him later. Told him that he believed that he thought he saw Sally, but couldn't explain it. The pastor left and went straight to the chief of police. He knew him well, as he was also a member of the church. He asked him, "Can I ask one question about all the accidents that have been happening lately? Was all of them involving alcohol?" The chief said, "Well, as a matter of fact, all of them have been involved with alcohol. Why do you ask?" The pastor said, "Never mind. I was just curious about something." At this point, the pastor, even though it went against all of his beliefs, had an idea what was going on. The pastor decided to call Greg and talk to him, and asked if he could come down for the weekend. And Greg asked, "Why? I'm trying to move on." He said to please grant him this one request and he would never ask anything of him ever again. Greg was torn, but his curiosity with the pastor got the best of him. He agreed. When Greg arrived at the pastor's house, he was shocked to see a bottle of aged scotch sitting on the table. Although it was unopened, what was going on here? The pastor said, "Sit down and let's talk. I have some more bad news to tell you, and it might sound crazy. I think I might even be crazy myself." Greg said, "What?" "Well, I think that Sally is still around. I really need to ask something of you that is completely against both of our beliefs. I don't even know if I can ask such a thing." Greg said, "What do you mean by any of this? Just spit it out." The pastor asked him to have a drink with him, just one. Greg could not believe his ears. The pastor said, "If you can't, I understand." Greg agreed and choked down the glass. The pastor had one as well and said, "Follow me." They went to his car and got in. Greg was so shocked at this point, he thought the man had gone crazy, but he got in the passenger side. They drove down Greg's old road, slowly. Sure enough, right around the dangerous corner on that street appeared a figure, standing in the middle of the road. He slammed on the brakes, and now it was right in front of the car. In the headlights stood Sally. Tears started in both of their eyes, and Greg got out of the car. Just as he got out, Sally disappeared. The pastor told Greg to talk as if she was here. Tell her it's okay, and she needs to move on. Greg did as he fell to pieces. They went back to the pastor's house, and he told Greg, "Thank you so much. I know none of this was easy for you, but I think it helped." Greg said, "I don't understand. I'm lost. Why was Sally there?" The pastor explained his theory that she was seeking vengeance on all the drunk drivers, and he knew unless he'd seen it for himself that he wouldn't come. Greg left and went back to his new town, devastated. He couldn't believe or deal with what he had just witnessed. They say that the accident slowed down after his visit, at least for a while. Every year, though, on the anniversary of that family's death, there are numerous accidents on that same stretch of road. The ones who survive swear to have seen a woman standing in the middle of the road who just disappears. So, if you are ever in the northern Arkansas area in a small town in early October, make sure you aren't planning on having a drink. You might just get to meet our local legend firsthand, and it might be the last person you ever see. So as always, good night, sleep tight, from the Scary Stories channel.